Bishop of Erie because of his heinous and callous treatment of victims. I thank Josh Shapiro in the Attorney General's office and staff for the hard work that they've done in conducting this investigation. I'm proud to stand with him. I'm proud to stand with my fellow survivors today.
Did you ever think you would see this day?
I knew the truth would come out eventually. I thank God, like I think all the other victims, that we've had this opportunity to have our voice finally heard. We need law enforcement. We need these kinds of investigations in every state in the United States. We cannot trust the Catholic Church to investigate itself. When they did so in 2004, in the wake of Boston, in the wake of the John Jay study, in the wake of the Dallas Charter for the... They provided statistics, but never the names of abusers, not the assignment histories of abusers. They've never been transparent. It takes law enforcement, it takes reporters such as yourselves being persistent in order to call out the truth. We need statutory assistance. We need assistance from law enforcement.
Can I add to that? I'd just like to add to that.
Would you please identify yourself?
My name is James Van Sickle, V-A-N-S. For you and spend time with you.
What did today mean to you and the other victims, Jim?
I think it was a victory, a major victory, to get our voices out there, to have our stories told. I also believe that this is the first step in a few more steps that we have to take. This can't be the end. This is actually the beginning, and we're going to continue to speak out as a family.
Talk about this next step.
Well, I know I'm going to continue to pursue victims and help them to heal. In terms of the church, I'm going to continue to do research and uncover any of those priests that aren't named. And I've already talked to victims of priests who have not been named.
We're also looking for legislative changes. We're looking for a window in the statute of limitations. This is the murder of a soul. There's no statute of limitations on the crime of murder. We don't go after victims and their families and question them about repressed memories and recovered memories. There's no statute of limitations. This is soul murder. These people were victims. Our ability to recognize our spirituality is hobbled by these men. And it takes time for us to be able to find our voice. And we need that opportunity. We need that statute of limitations to force discovery of the diocese files.
The church officials have framed this, I think, to some degree as abuse from the past. Do you think that's do you want to respond to that?
Do you want to say something on that?
Yeah, the past. We have a bishop in Allentown. I'm Allentown Diocese. My name is Julianne Bortz, B-O-R-T-Z. I came forward after Boston broke, but then, and that was 2002. 2004, I became a SNAP leader. So much of what Mr. Shapiro was talking about today, I had already heard, obviously not everything, but I've been taking calls from victims since 2004 until about maybe 6-8 weeks ago. I no longer SNAP, but, and that has nothing to do with this, but when I decided to come forward to the diocese, I found out today, that they hired private investigators to look into my background. Bishop Edward Cullen, and I found this out today, so I am so angry, because when I went to the Victims Assistant Coordinator, before being a SNAP leader, before speaking out, I was told I wanted one thing. I wanted to meet with the priest that abused me, Father Francis Fromholzer. There was another victim, a friend of mine. He took both of us to the Poconos the first time. That being said, when I asked to speak to Father Fromholzer, that's all I ever asked the diocese for. Nothing. I wanted nothing from them. I didn't want money. I didn't want anything. I wanted to talk to the man that did it to us. And they said no. And then they said, well, you'll be contacted by a private investigator. So I thought they're going to hire a private investigator to look into Father Fromholzer. And I found out today that it wasn't him that they were looking at. They were looking at me. That makes me angry.
You found that out today?
I found that out today, that they actually did that. I suspected that they did that over the years, but I didn't know they did that. That's what, I've heard other victims talk about that. That they, instead of helping the victim, they re-victimize. That makes me really, I am so emotional today, but I am so angry that they, and I don't even know what they found out about very much.
You're not boring.
But,
Just to add to your question.
and by the way,
Oh, go ahead.
that recording that was shown, Bob Corby came to my first meeting. These guys are tired of hearing it. My first SNAP meeting, Bob Corby came. Never met him before that. I was the first person he told. We are absolutely amazing, and it did. It ruined his life. 83. So,
Pardon me,
Hey,
before
folks.
the state grand jury was convened to look into this, had any of you contacted law enforcement? And if so, what happened?
I did file a police report in Allentown, and nobody's been able to find it.
And in your case?
I did not. I just came out in February after 36 years. And to answer your question on why are we not seeing new cases, but look at us. There are 15, 14, 10-year-old kids that do not feel safe enough to come forward right now. We won't hear their voice for another 20 or 30 years. That's why we're not hearing them. That's why we've come together, so that we can make them feel comfortable and realize that the shame and the guilt and the concerns aren't there. This was not our fault.
We've not had a chance to read the report. It was
we-
made public just as this began. Could you just please tell us, how old are you and where were you serving when you were?
I
where were you
am
worshiping?
55 years old, and the abuse started at 16 through 18 years old.
And what
Father
was it?
David Polson is my predator, and he's currently awaiting trial in the fall.
Guys, we're going to do about one more minute here, okay? And then Jennifer Storm, the victim advocate from Pennsylvania, is here and is also more than willing to talk to the press.
Well, folks, could I ask you, as far as those recommendations that the grand jury issued,
Can we speak to one
is there anything that, you're familiar, and I assume you support the recommendations that they called for. Is there anything that they missed? Is there anything that you feel like should have been in that report
No.
going forward that isn't in there?
I believe that that's the only way that we can motivate the church to purge themselves of this ugly, heinous crimes and cover-up.
Nothing was missed in the recommendations, but certainly much has been missed on the part of the bishops in terms of basic humanity. These are wolves in shepherd's clothing. These people are not protecting the most vulnerable members of their communities. They have to be dragged into the spotlight, kicking and screaming, with redactions, with interventions, with petitions, and it's just totally unfair to victims that we have to jump through all of these hoops. They should open up their files. They should tell us the assignment histories of these perpetrators. They should tell us when and where they molested. They should tell us how many victims that they had. They should do that because they are human. Aside from the fact that they profess to be Christian, this is what it means to be a human being and to treat people fairly and humanely.
Guys, one last question here.
Is
then
there
we're gonna have
any
to take them out.
closure, or can you achieve it? I mean, with them coming out and apologizing? I mean, how do you?
I think that all of us will have a hole
Yeah.
in our soul for the rest of our lives.
They
Complete
killed-
healing is impossible.
They killed it. It's gone. Everything that I believed in from the time I was born. Catholicism is in my DNA, but they killed something in me.
But we can help others,
Yes,
and through that help, we've begun to heal ourselves.
And we've given each other new life.
yes, we have.
We're a family.
and we're gonna have to take them out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, could I get your name, please? I missed it.
Thank you, Julie. I can't, I gotta go.
Oh, can I?